Uh, you mentioned that um, for consideration of marriage, of course, there is parents and truthful commitment. Now,
Mm,
in the event there is truthful commitment, look at these people who have cohabited for more years.
mm,
And then after 30 years, somebody
mm,
is left there. And
mm,
some Kagal is married in 6 months,
mm,
legal.
mm,
Now, of course, with consideration of the truthful commitment,
mm,
what is the guarantee that this person in 30 years' time,
mm,
legally married or not, will not
mm,
dishonor that commitment? Hmm?
mm,
And yet they are still alive. Jukira wagambye nti no adultery, of course,
mm,
yes, you have outside marriage.
mm,
Now, the Bible says that, of course, actually doesn't even condone divorce. But
mm.
what is your notion of adultery in that situation? That I've probably been married to this person for this long, we
Mm,
divorce, and of
mm,
course, I still can't have, my intimacy outside.
mm,
Ideally, it is adultery, and ideally, it is also fornication. I
mm.
wanted to pick your brain on that.
I'm not sure
I
I've got
hope
your
you
question.
understood.
Yeah, I wanted to begin from that angle of the guarantee.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so yeah, there is no guarantee that
Mm-hmm.
human relationships will not fail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is no guarantee.
Yeah, that is true. That
Whether it is cohabitation or a registered marriage. So a cohabiting relationship will fail after 30 years, and a registered marriage will fail after 2 minutes. So
you said even the mad ones go and say.
because you see, the unserious ones, the majority unserious ones actually walk the aisle and say the vows, even in the name of God. And yet they are not serious, they are liars, because that is who we are. We are fallen human beings, we are very unreliable. You cannot depend on us.
Yeah, that is true.
So there is no guarantee. So let no one deceive you that you've married a Christian, you've married your tribesmate, you are there for safe. The love of your heart will never change. No, the Bible says, "Cursed is anyone who trusts a human being."
Yes, that is
Ah,
true.
exactly. So
Mm.
we get married by faith, by hope, and by prayer.
Mm,
And
mm, mm.
the only thing we can bank on is your word and my word. That's the only thing. You gave me your word, I gave you mine. Let's continue. Then the rest are the dynamics of living together with the fellow sinner. Don't do this, the do's and don'ts, the responsibilities,
Yes. Mm.
etc. And along the way, we learn how to live with the other. And the more you learn how to live with the other, the more you prolong your divorce and your departure, which is always looming around the corner.
Fire.
Indeed, fire. So there is no guarantee. So marriage is not like salvation. We are saved by grace through faith alone, not by works. But
Yes.
marriage is by works 101.
True.
So that is the word. So if someone gives you their word and you give them their word, you put in the work. You
You've
put in.
put in the work. It
Mm,
has failed on a certain notion.
mm,
You've gone your separate ways.
mm,
What do you call somebody who engages in intimacy after that divorce has happened? Because remember,
mm,
condoning the intimacy
mm,
within the confines of marriage with
mm,
another partner, yet
mm,
you've been divorced here. And we all know as Christians, I'm looking now
mm,
at the Christian culture, we all know
mm,
as Christians, of course, you cannot engage with another human being, even though
mm,
you're divorced.
mm.
ideally the Christian culture does not allow it. Even
And
I don't even,
yeah, and I think
even the
that's why
Bible, I think.
that's why I have issues with that interpretation. Because first of all, we agree that marriage is a covenant signed
Yes,
and
yes,
the documents, isn't it?
yes, true.
Now, when you divorce, I mean legally divorce, hasn't the covenant been nullified?
The covenant has not been nullified before God, ideally. Does he allow divorce?
Oh,
The God, I hate divorce.
oh, okay, fine.
Yes, that
Now,
is where I'm
so
coming from.
you're coming from covenanting with God.
Yes, the covenant.
Okay, okay, fine.
Mm.
Now, the divine covenant, all right,
Mhm, mhm.
is not signed and sealed in documents.
Okay,
The divine covenant is signed and sealed on the human heart.
true.
That's why I started, you remember where I started from?
Yes.
That the marriage, the stakeholders are three sets. The
The
candidates,
parents,
the
the
parents,
candidates, the
uh-huh,
parents, and God.
and God.
Yeah.
Now, now, parents are informed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, God is not actually informed. He knows that one.
Definitely.
To him, we just confess what he knows.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
Now, to the fellow sinners, we give them we give each other our word.
Yes, true.
Now, the covenant that is between you the couple, and God
Mm.
is the state of your heart and the truth of your heart.
Yes.
Now, that is why he said in Matthew chapter 5 that you've heard that the ancient have been told, thou shalt not commit adultery. But I but
You're
I said
getting there now. Mm.
but I said to you, as far as I
Mm.
am concerned, it
Mm.
is not even having that practical intercourse. It
Of
is,
course, even the look.
thank you, but he was not actually talking about
Yes.
the look. He was looking at the state of the heart. Where is your heart?
Mm. Mm.
Now,
Mm.
now, as far as adultery is concerned, they are legally
Mm.
married people who are actually adulterers but married before God. And the reason for that is because you are married to FB, but your heart is with Brenda.
True.
And at a certain point, you're even going to mention it to FB or to Isaiah and tell him, Isaiah, my heart sincerely is with Pedson. I am sorry.
Fire.
Now, that
Mhm.
is adultery. That is why the image of adultery is even used in the Bible in the context of worship.
Yes, yes,
He tells
yes.
Israel that you are adulterous, you are adulterous nation. And then they ask
Nation,
him, why God? Why are you saying that we're adulterous? He says, you worship images and idols.
yeah, yes, true.
Because that is your heart, that is where your heart is. Then when he comes in flesh in Matthew chapter 9, he says, these people are hypocrites, for they worship him with their lips, but their hearts.
Very true.
Now, the new covenant within what we're talking about, that's even where our relationships, marital relationships fall, because the new covenant is from the tablets, from the documents of the courts of law and the church, religious documents. It is now on the heart.
On the heart, yes.
Yes.
Mm.
Now, that covenant of marriage is not nullified as long as you claim to have moved on, but your heart is still there. It is not
Ah.
nullified before God. But if your heart wasn't even there before,
Mm.
even when you got married, you were just committing adultery. You just registered your adultery. That is what you did. So this whole thing of God hates divorce. Yes, God hates divorce. He really hates divorce. And he doesn't want the people who are truly in love to divorce. He hates it. And by the way, they cannot divorce before him.
Mm. Mm.
Uh-huh.
Because of the heart covenant.
Because
That
of the
heart.
heart covenant. You people, we can deceive the entire world, but we cannot deceive ourselves. We all know where our heart is and where it belongs. But we can sign all the papers and make all the weddings, etc. But we all know where our heart is, and God knows. So before God, if your heart is not in that marriage with that candidate you are married to, you are adulterous.
You are registering your adultery.
You are registering your adultery, regardless of how many jubilee and silver you're going to celebrate. You see, Jethro keeps here celebrating silver jubilee, silver whatever, etc.
The politicians have come. Thank you,
Okay.
priest.
Thank you so much. God bless you.